how did you figure out that your own PR person was making up the feud rumors between you and Julia Roberts? Have you spoken to Julia since?
See, that's what happens when...
You had a thing with her as well?
When you're doing a film, they say you f the guy and you're feuding with the girl. That's what happens when you do a film. So when we did Stepmom, which we both produced...
Julia Roberts may be America's sweetheart, but not everyone's buying the act. Behind that million-dollar smile lies a Hollywood history filled with tension, jealousy, and bitter rivalries. Over the years, some celebrities have made it clear they simply can't stand her. Here are the stars who vehemently hate Julia Roberts, and the shocking reasons why. Eric Roberts. Sibling disagreements are nothing new, but the long-standing estrangement between Eric Roberts and his younger sister Julia Roberts was one of Hollywood's most publicized family dramas. According to People magazine, the bitterness between the siblings traces back to 1993, when Eric became embroiled in a bitter custody battle over his daughter, future actress Emma Roberts, with his ex-girlfriend Kelly Cunningham. At the time, Eric's struggles with substance abuse were well documented. Concerned for Emma's well-being, Julia took a decisive stand. She sided with Cunningham in the dispute. For Eric, the move reportedly felt like a betrayal, not only because Julia was his sister, but also because he had played a key role in helping launch her acting career years earlier. Sources close to the family suggested that his resentment ran deep, interpreting Julia's actions as a public declaration that she believed him unfit to parent. The fallout was immediate and severe. Julia and Eric stopped speaking altogether, and what might have been a private family issue spilled into tabloids and entertainment news outlets. For the next decade, one of Hollywood's most famous siblings maintained a tense silence. Their strained relationship was often contrasted with Julia's rising star power. While she ascended to A-list status as the beloved star of Pretty Woman, Eric, once an Oscar-nominated actor for Runaway Train, found himself more frequently in the headlines for legal troubles and personal struggles than for acclaimed performances. Behind the scenes, the rift reportedly weighed on both of them. Friends and industry insiders occasionally speculated that their distance was more complicated than a single custody dispute. Some pointed to Eric's frustration over Julia's immense fame, suggesting that being constantly introduced as Julia Roberts' brother may have stung his pride. Julia, on the other hand, was said to have grown weary of what she perceived as Eric's volatility and erratic behavior, especially during his years of substance abuse. Their Cold War began to thaw in 2004, following a major milestone in Julia's life, the birth of her twins, Hazel and Phineas Motor. The arrival of the babies reportedly softened her feelings toward her brother, and Eric, by then in recovery and rebuilding his career, seemed eager to make amends. They reconnected, finding common ground in their shared family ties and mutual love for Emma, who by then was beginning to build her own acting career. Eric addressed their reconciliation publicly in an interview with Access Online, downplaying the drama. There was never really a feud, he said. It was blown out of proportion. His attempt to reframe the decade-long silence as a misunderstanding didn't completely convince the public, but it signaled his desire to move forward. In a 2014 interview, Eric offered another theory for their estrangement, one that shifted the focus away from the custody battle. He joked that part of the problem might have been the media's insistence on labeling Julia as Eric Roberts' little sister early in her career. And one day she got sick of it and said, "I don't want to hear his name anymore," Eric recounted with a touch of humor. So I said, "Ooh, it must be a problem." So, but no problem. Anyway, what else? His casual tone suggested that, at least publicly, he preferred to treat the past tension as water under the bridge. Today, both siblings appear to have mended their relationship. Eric has publicly praised Julia in recent years, calling her the best actress in the world, and celebrating Emma's achievements as proof of the Roberts family's enduring talent. Julia, for her part, has refrained from revisiting the feud in interviews, opting to focus on her career and family rather than reigniting old headlines. Juliana Margulies. Hollywood is no stranger to stories of diva behavior, but sometimes those stories come full circle in surprising and even heartwarming ways. According to Juliana Margulies, the acclaimed star of The Good Wife, Julia Roberts once left a lasting impression on her. Unfortunately, not a good one at first. In a 2010 appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman, Margulies recounted a personal anecdote from her pre-fame days working in an upscale restaurant that catered almost exclusively to celebrities. Among the many A-listers who dined there, one stood out: Julia Roberts. Margulies described Roberts with a diplomatic but pointed phrase: "She's lovely when you're not waiting on her." The remark drew laughter from Letterman's audience, but it also painted a picture of a young Roberts at the height of her early stardom, fresh off the massive success of Pretty Woman, who may have occasionally let the pressures of fame, and perhaps the ego that can come with it, affect her manners. The anecdote didn't end there, however. Years later, in 2006, both actresses found themselves on Broadway, Roberts performing in 3 Days of Rain and Margulies starring in Festin, at theaters directly across the street from one another. By then, Margulies had risen to prominence herself, earning accolades for her work on ER and developing a reputation as one of television's most respected performers. Fate brought the two women together again when, one evening, they wound up going out on the town after their shows. During their night out, Margulies decided to confront Roberts about the long-ago restaurant encounter. As she told Letterman, the conversation was straightforward but not hostile. Roberts asked her if she had really been that bad back then. Margulies admitted that she had, kind of. The two women laughed about it, and Roberts, to her credit, didn't get defensive or dismissive. Instead, she reportedly admitted her behavior and apologized sincerely. She admitted it. She was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," Margulies recalled. Roberts then went one step further. She treated Margulies to dinner that night. The gesture suggested that Roberts, now older and perhaps more grounded, wanted to make amends for the earlier slight. Margulies framed the moment as one of closure and understanding. "We were both 23, she explained. She was a huge star at the time, and there were 20 people around her." Her words put the incident into perspective, acknowledging how overwhelming early fame can be and how it might lead even a generally kind person to act poorly in certain situations. The story has a touch of irony, of course. Even as Margulies relayed Roberts's gracious apology and their shared laughter, she mischievously left one tantalizing detail unanswered. How did Roberts treat the waiter that night? "Unfortunately for us," Margulies quipped, she chose not to reveal that part of the story, opting to take the high road rather than reopen old wounds or invite fresh gossip. This anecdote serves as more than just Hollywood trivia. It highlights the complexity of celebrity reputations and the potential for growth over time. Roberts, who has faced accusations of being difficult or aloof on other sets and in other situations, showed humility by owning up to her past behavior. Margulies, for her part, handled the situation with grace, turning what could have been a lingering grudge into a funny and touching story about reconciliation. The incident also underscores the power dynamics between celebrities and those who serve them. At 23, Roberts was already one of the most famous women in the world, and a young waitress like Margulies might have seemed invisible. Years later, with both women standing on equal footing as respected performers, the memory became an opportunity for honesty and connection rather than bitterness. Steven Spielberg. Julia Roberts may be known as America's sweetheart, but behind the scenes, her larger-than-life persona hasn't always charmed everyone. Among the most infamous tales of her rumored diva behavior is her turbulent collaboration with director Steven Spielberg on the 1991 fantasy adventure Hook. What was supposed to be a magical reimagining of Peter Pan instead became a tense experience that sparked years of speculation about bad blood between the two Hollywood heavyweights. During production, Roberts, cast as the fairy Tinkerbell, was going through personal upheaval. Her engagement to actor Kiefer Sutherland had collapsed in a storm of tabloid headlines, and the emotional fallout reportedly bled into her work. Crew members whispered about her long absences, with some even giving her the biting nickname Tinkerhell. According to Steven Spielberg, a biography, she developed a reputation for tardiness and aloofness, frustrating colleagues who were trying to keep the sprawling, effects-heavy production on schedule. One of the most infamous incidents occurred when Roberts reportedly sauntered onto set hours late, completely unfazed. With the crew and actors waiting, she allegedly declared, "I'm ready now," as though the production had been paused for her convenience. Spielberg, usually known for his diplomacy and calm demeanor, did not let it slide. "We're ready when I say we're ready, Julia," he is quoted as replying, a subtle but firm rebuke that revealed his irritation. The tension wasn't limited to a single day. Reports suggest that Roberts would lock herself in her trailer for extended periods, causing delays that increased stress on an already demanding film shoot. Spielberg later addressed the experience during a 1992 interview on 60 Minutes with journalist Ed Bradley. Without going into every detail, Spielberg admitted, "It was not a great time for Julia and I to be working together," an unusually candid remark from a director known for protecting his actors' reputations. Bradley pressed further, asking if Spielberg would work with Roberts again. The director paused, gave a small, knowing smile, and delivered a reply that critics still cite as masterful shade. "This is a 60 Minutes question, isn't it?" While he didn't explicitly say no, the hesitation spoke volumes. It suggested that the wounds from Hook had not fully healed, and that Spielberg, one of Hollywood's most powerful directors, might think twice before collaborating with her again. Roberts herself was stunned when she saw the interview. In a candid conversation with Vanity Fair, she revealed how betrayed she felt by Spielberg's hesitation. "I saw that, and my eyes popped out of my head," she said. "I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that this person that I knew and trusted was actually hesitating to come to my defense. It was a hard lesson to learn. It was the first time that I felt I had a turncoat in my midst." Her words made clear that she had expected Spielberg to publicly support her, even if their working relationship had been strained behind closed doors. The episode became a cautionary tale in Hollywood about how even the brightest stars can alienate influential colleagues. Spielberg's comments, though measured, carried significant weight in the industry. His subtle disapproval fueled gossip columns and added to the growing narrative that Roberts could be difficult. For an actress who had charmed audiences with Pretty Woman just a year earlier, the fallout was a rare stumble in her otherwise meteoric rise. Over the years, both Roberts and Spielberg have largely avoided revisiting the Hook controversy in public, preferring to let time bury old grievances. Still, the story endures as one of the most famous examples of on-set tension between a director and a leading actor. In Hollywood, where reputations are currency, a single strained partnership can echo for decades. And for Julia Roberts, the Tinkerbell who became Tinkerhell, it was a reminder that even America's sweetheart is not immune to the brutal whisper network of Tinseltown. Meryl Streep, when two of Hollywood's most celebrated actresses, Meryl Streep and Julia Roberts, joined forces for the 2013 film August, Osage County, fans and industry insiders expected sparks of brilliance, not whispers of a feud. But as the movie's premiere approached, the entertainment world buzzed with rumors that the Oscar-winning powerhouses couldn't stand each other. Whether fact or gossip, the alleged rift between these two icons quickly became one of the juiciest stories of awards season. The drama reportedly centered on a creative dispute about the film's ending. Based on Tracy Letts' Pulitzer Prize-winning play, August Osage County is a dark family drama filled with biting humor, searing confrontations, and devastating revelations. Streep, cast as the manipulative matriarch Violet Weston, delivered a powerhouse performance that many critics hailed as one of her finest. Roberts, portraying Violet's estranged daughter Barbara, had one of her most dramatic roles in years. The film built toward a climactic conclusion that, in its original cut, ended with a lingering shot of Streep's character, an image meant to underline Violet's isolation and despair. But according to a source quoted by the National Enquirer, Roberts wasn't pleased. She allegedly felt the ending was too much of a downer and that Streep looked so sad in the final moment. The report claimed Roberts pushed to have the ending changed, resulting in a version that softened the tone and shifted the emotional weight away from Streep's character. To be fair, test audiences reportedly reacted negatively to the original ending, and even Letts, the playwright himself, supported the adjustment. Still, for those who believed the rumor, the implication was clear. Roberts's alleged interference crossed a line with Streep, an actress revered for her craft and meticulous dedication to her roles. The gossip mill went into overdrive when Streep was reportedly absent from the film's premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival. While Streep's team never confirmed her reasons for skipping the event, the Enquirer's source suggested it was a deliberate snub. Meryl was livid, the insider claimed, and she never wants to work with Julia again. The narrative fit perfectly into the tabloid-friendly image of Roberts as a strong-willed star who occasionally ruffles feathers, and it painted Streep as quietly fuming over a perceived slight. Of course, without direct confirmation, much of this remains speculative. Hollywood insiders have pointed out that Streep is famously gracious and professional, making it hard to imagine her holding a lasting grudge over a single creative decision, especially one supported by the film's playwright and validated by audience feedback. Moreover, Roberts herself has expressed nothing but admiration for Streep in public interviews over the years, calling her extraordinary and describing their on-screen confrontations as exhilarating. The rumored feud also seemed to clash with the narrative that awards campaigns often thrive on: the spectacle of two acclaimed actresses bringing emotional depth to a story about family dysfunction. Publicly, Roberts and Streep continued to promote the film without overt hostility. They posed together for press events earlier in the film's rollout and spoke glowingly about the ensemble cast, which included Benedict Cumberbatch, Ewan McGregor, and Chris Cooper. Still, in an industry where whispers can linger longer than facts, the story of their alleged clash refused to fade quickly. The suggestion that Roberts, a beloved star known for her smile and charm, might have overstepped with a Hollywood legend like Streep was too tantalizing for gossip columns to ignore. And for Roberts, who had already weathered rumors of on-set friction with other co-stars, the report added yet another layer to the complex narrative surrounding her off-screen reputation. Susan Sarandon. Back in 1998, Susan Sarandon and Julia Roberts starred together in the emotional family drama Stepmom. Not long after the film's release, rumors began circulating that the two actresses did not get along on set. The press often painted them as rivals, feeding into the old Hollywood stereotype that two strong female leads must be in conflict. This supposed feud became a popular talking point, overshadowing the film itself. However, both Sarandon and Roberts have repeatedly denied that there was ever any animosity. Sarandon revealed in 2017 that much of the feud narrative was actually manufactured by her own publicist at the time, who believed the gossip would generate publicity. Roberts, too, dismissed the rumors, joking that people would rather invent a catfight than believe two women could work together without drama. In interviews, Sarandon has pointed out that the media tends to pit women against each other in ways they do not with male co-stars. She explained that there was never bad blood with Roberts, and she actually found the stories frustrating. Roberts also described the feud rumors as boring and laughed at the idea that anyone thought the two couldn't stand one another. Nick Nolte. When two of Hollywood's biggest names, Julia Roberts and Nick Nolte, signed on to star in the 1994 romantic comedy I Love Trouble, studios expected chemistry, charm, and box office magic. What they got instead was one of the most infamous feuds in modern movie history. By the time the film hit theaters, stories of their explosive dislike for each other had overshadowed the movie itself, turning what should have been a light-hearted rom-com into a cautionary tale about clashing egos on set. According to the Los Angeles Times, Roberts and Nolte were at odds almost from the beginning of production. Roberts, fresh off her Pretty Woman success and then widely adored as America's sweetheart, reportedly struggled with Nolte's brash, unpredictable energy. She was said to be prone to temper tantrums on set, especially when Nolte's behavior pushed her buttons. Nolte, for his part, seemed to take a perverse delight in doing exactly that, deliberately irritating his co-star whenever he could. Crew members described a tense environment where minor disagreements could escalate into shouting matches. The animosity was so intense that the two reportedly avoided working together whenever possible. Rather than share the same space, Roberts and Nolte often filmed scenes with stand-ins, using camera tricks and editing to create the illusion of romantic closeness. For a movie built around the classic enemies to lovers trope, their off-screen hostility ironically mirrored the plot, but in a way that was far less charming. Industry insiders whispered that their real-life dislike drained the film of the spark and humor audiences expected from such big-name stars. The tension wasn't confined to the set. It spilled into the press before the movie even premiered. In a 1993 interview with the New York Times, Roberts made no effort to hide her feelings about her co-star. "He's going to hate me for saying this," she admitted, "but he seems to go out of his way to repel people." She went even further, bluntly calling Nolte disgusting. Such candid comments were rare for Roberts, who usually maintained a polished, media-friendly image. Her remarks signaled just how deeply Nolte had gotten under her skin. Nolte, never one to back down from a public spat, responded with equal force. "It's not nice to call someone disgusting," he told reporters. "But she's not a nice person." Everyone knows that his sharp words not only reignited the feud, but also surprised fans who had grown accustomed to Roberts' sweetheart persona. The exchange gave gossip columns and entertainment magazines endless fodder, and it cemented I Love Trouble's reputation as a production defined more by behind-the-scenes conflict than by the story on screen. The film itself, a screwball romantic comedy about rival newspaper reporters forced to work together on a big story, suffered from the off-screen drama. Critics noted a lack of genuine chemistry between the leads, and some openly wondered whether the stars' mutual disdain made it impossible for them to convincingly portray a couple falling in love. While I Love Trouble earned modest box office returns, it was far from a critical success, and has since been remembered primarily for the bitter feud that plagued it. In later years, both actors were occasionally asked about the experience. Nolte has, at times, expressed mild regret over how publicly hostile things became, while Roberts has largely sidestepped the topic, preferring not to rehash an unpleasant chapter in her career. Still, the episode remains a textbook example of how personal animosity can derail a project. Hollywood is full of stories about stars who secretly disliked each other but managed to keep their disputes private. Roberts and Nolte, however, were an exception. Two talented, high-profile actors who simply could not hide their contempt. Their feud has since become part of industry lore, often cited in discussions of the most notorious on-set conflicts. What do you think about people who hate Julia Roberts? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.